4,500 kilometers of highway that I bicycled from Vancouver to Ottawa, and I landed here, and I had all kinds of plans that, well, of course they fall apart, and so I mean, I'm doing my best right now. I got my guitar. I had to sell my bike to get this guitar, so I'm doing okay right now. So nobody can tell that I'm here unless you're within like 10 feet of the place. So that's the best thing about it. And I try to keep it clean, but it was always a big mess. Somebody had already been here. All these like toppled trees and so on leaned up. They start creaking and cracking in the wind, just like groaning and stuff. It's like you're kind of expecting one of them to fall on you, but it's not going to happen. It's a pretty good structure.
So why do you stay outside?
For a person who wants to stay away from the drug scene and have many pretty serious reasons to in my life, I have struggled with addiction and I still do sometimes, and it's not a good idea to be hanging around in those places because, well, the draw is there, and people who would partake in that sort of environment and use drugs, hard drugs, well, it's there, and it's a vice, and it's a vortex, and I'd rather avoid that.
What is the hardest thing about being homeless?
Isolation and loneliness, mostly. I'm finding that when I do meet a friend and it's time for conversation, I'm relishing the moment. And so when I do finally get some sort of chatting with somebody, and especially about this situation in life and whatever, and telling jokes to try to overcome everything, that's been really good. The many people I come hang out with now in Ottawa, they come from up north, and well, they're living outside and just as I am. So it's like I have one of like 1,000 stories that could be told, and it's not pretty. It's very dark. You're trying to come through with some kind of like explanation for how actually the trauma plays out and how it affects somebody. You just sound crazy. The mind kind of like puts it in a shelf and puts it away and puts it in a box, and well, hope it goes away. Well, it doesn't. I have not properly diagnosed post-traumatic stress disorder because I've witnessed too many things, and there's definitely something going on that needs to be told about, and that's the whole reason that so many young men commit suicide up north, and there's so many social problems that we have to face alone, and because the country doesn't, it just wants to look away, kind of thing, most of the time, and it's not anybody's fault for not knowing, except the situation up north in Nunavut, specifically in Baffin and in the Qaluit. We need to stem the tide at some point and somehow make it known and make it plain as possible that Inuit, and especially young men up there, and young women too, and children, are in a lot of trouble. Somebody needs to sit down at our table. Trauma causes mental damage. It's psychological damage, not a disease that people are under. There is virtually no benefit to, or any effort taken to try to go at the source of the problem, not just the symptoms. They're just fixing symptoms.
EZRA, what's your dream?
To see my daughter and her mom happy. I haven't, my kid's about 4 now, and her mom and her are waiting for me to get well enough. She's out there somewhere, and she made me promise. Even my kid, when she's at her age, when I spoke to them last, she was 3, and I said to her, "Daddy in the big city fighting monsters."